the privileges of being a priest or a deacon or a bishop is that people tell us profound stories. Stories about their lives, and they tell us stuff they don't generally tell other people. Perhaps it's because they need to share these experiences, and they feel somehow that we clergy will believe them even if it seems unreal. Perhaps they fear that they will be treated the way the women were in our story, that they will see it as simply an idle tale. But notice, at least one of them must have thought something about what the women said, because he got up and ran and checked it himself. I was privileged a number of years ago to walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And I remember one night I was in a refugio by myself, and one other person was there. And we were huddled around a little fire. It was a little stove. It was very cold, and we were the only ones there. And she began to tell me a story. She started to tell me about what it was like for her to live in her hometown, and what it was like to live in the family that she had. One of the things that was true about her life was that she had a child, an adult child, who would never leave home. And she said at one point, just one line, and this is the line I don't think she even wanted to admit to herself, but she wanted to tell someone. And she said, I don't want to go home. Because going home was going back to all the challenges and chances of the life she had. And we both knew she would go home. But that's the kind of thing we clergy sometimes hear. Some of the stories that we hear are really about what a friend of mine calls God touches. Times of profound connection with the holy. Times where somehow that veil between us and God just kind of got a little bit frailer, fragile, see-through. One of those moments that if you've had it, you never can quite explain it to anyone else. And you can also never not believe it occurred. I remember one woman on the death of her mother was in my office, and she was telling me how that night after her mom died, she was trying to describe what happened in her house and sort of the feeling of her mother's presence still there with her. And she went over to one of the windows, and she ran her hand down one of the shades. I thought she was about to break them. It was just such a powerful moment for her, and she just had to share it. She had to tell someone. Those are the kind of stories that you don't tell everybody, because you know where the eyebrows go, right? And people roll their eyes, and you have to really trust. One of the most amazing things we don't generally say about this is that those women decided to go ahead and tell what they had experienced. And they told the 11, not knowing what kind of response they were getting, and probably not being all that surprised of the response they got. But they needed to tell it, because God had come to them in a unique way. They had experienced resurrection, and they couldn't keep it to themselves. This is the story we tell tonight. The women go to the grave, and they find the body of Jesus missing. And they hear a voice of angels saying, "He is risen." Over the centuries, many others have had such moments of resurrection. Some of them have written about those, and some of them who have written we call saints. But there's a whole lot more of us who simply held quietly to what we know to be the truth of resurrection. What we all have in common is that there is in all of us, at some time in our life, a sense of the presence of God, a deep, full, rich sense of God's presence with us. This night, as we take that moment to say Alleluia, and the lights come on, and the music starts, and all of a sudden this dark place is transformed into a place of light and beauty and amazement. Maybe you, at a moment, God is present here, now, in this place, at this time. God is with us. Christ is resurrected. Amen.